welcome back to Beyond the Veil Tarot and Astrology. My name is Candice Marie. Thanks for joining me. I'll be your astrologer today. We're going to be doing the overview and the astro weather for the end of January, and then we're going to take a look at what's going on in February of 2024. I hope you guys are doing well, especially those of you guys who are watching on Sunday. Happy Sunday. We will be touching on the week of January 28th. And we are going to take it all the way through the 4th of February. And yeah, that's pretty much what we're doing today. I'm titling this video, The Future is Now. If you guys like my content and you'd like to see more of it, make sure you click the bell button below so you're alerted to when we have new videos on the channel. This will subscribe you to my content and you can tune in with me several times throughout the week and for the month ahead. So basically, yeah, guys, we've got this massive stellium that will be building into mid-February in Aquarius. Definitely some really big life-changing themes this week as all of these personal planets surround Pluto. And I wanted to also let you guys know that since we're going to be doing the monthly overview for February, there's some other content that I've already put out there. There is a 12 rising sign horoscope video for February that is live. So if you're wanting more of my hot takes on your personal astrology for your rising sun or moon sign, make sure you check that out. And also we've got Valentine's Day that's coming up, so I thought I'd do some fun stuff for you guys. I'm offering $50 off all Synastry readings that are booked in the month of February. You may not catch me until March or April, but I'm offering that discounted special. And I'm also doing special reports on love transits. This is something that I decided to do this month in February. I'm going to be taking a look at the transits to your natal chart, as well as eclipses, progressions, and much, much more to let you know where Cupid may strike and when. So make sure you check that out if you are interested in some love astrology. All right, so let's go ahead and get started with this week. We'll take a look at what's going on outside of today. Little bit more calm week ahead. So if you're watching this on February the 28th, happy Sunday. We wake up in the morning and the moon is in Virgo. So we are ready to kind of work through our to-do list, get some stuff done, focusing on health, organization, and service. These are the themes of Virgo. And to be honest with you guys, today is a very, very important communication day. So yes, it might be Sunday, you may not be working, but this is a day that you can really put to use if used appropriately. Maybe if you guys caught my video last week where I talk about this building conjunction between Mercury and Mars. It's been taking place the last couple of days, and it's really helping us focus on our long-term goals. Capricorn is the cardinal earth sign that is associated with Saturn. So strategic planning, business proposals, contracts, things that we sign or agree to. These are all the things that we want to do while we have Mercury hanging out with exalted Mars in Capricorn. But today is a very important day because we're going to see the conjunction between Mercury and Mars, where we're actually taking some action around our goals, coming into a square with the lunar nodes. So very important conversations are likely shaping up yesterday, today, tomorrow. Now this is doubly important because while this moon is in Virgo, we are focusing on Mercury, which is the ruler. So if you guys play this right, as you start to see the moon later today come out of an opposition with Saturn, which personally I feel like is doing the work to get out of, the delaying, the stalling, the self-undoing, the hiding. If we really show up and make some sort of effort, we're going to be rewarded. So some really cool aspects will be made once the moon comes out of a square or an opposition with Saturn. So if you're watching this early in the morning, my advice is get some extra rest, feel like you guys are recharged, take some time to pause and reflect today. And as you get going, you're going to see this moon's going to trine Jupiter. So we're going to be optimistic about whatever tasks are underway. And we will also see the moon start building into a trine with these planets in Capricorn. So first thing in the morning, moon trine Jupiter and Venus. We're feeling productive. We're feeling more happy, more optimistic, more expansive. Especially when it comes to practical earthly things. And then as we go on today, we'll start to see the moon start picking up in the PM hours a trine to Mercury and Mars. So what does it mean when planets square the nodes, right? From an evolutionary standpoint, we see this as the need to basically like work with this energy to embrace the energy of the two planets. So if Mercury is systems, organization, health, wellness, business, travel, conversations, emails, text messages, and Mars is about taking action, likely this is the day where we're like deciding, okay, this is what I'm going to do. And it's not just saying it, it's doing it. Walking the walk and talking the talk, Mercury, Mars. And it also happens to be at 18 degrees. So probably what you guys are going to find today is that this is the turning point where you're realizing or recognizing that to get out of our self-undoing tendencies of that South Node in Libra, to be too reliant on other people, to be too lazy or indecisive, right? These are kind of the lower octaves of Libra. We have to take some kind of action. And then to better kind of integrate that North Node in Aries, it means that it's going to be something that's beneficial for our physical bodies, for our independence, for our self-esteem maybe, for our own ability to also self-heal. Chiron and the North Node are getting very close. So I've experienced these transits personally as kind of like getting sick of my own shit. Like, to be really honest with you, like I have found when these conjunctions and these squares happen to the nodes, I'm like, okay, now I finally have to make the change. We have to change our mind maybe. We have to change our communication style. We have to change something about our action plan. And so while this is kind of irritating, annoying, and quite honestly can feel like just a ton of things that we have to get done, Venus is also a part of this stellium in Capricorn, and she is the ruler of the South Node, and she's kind of beaming down, sending all of this sweet goodness to Jupiter and also to the moon. So perhaps what we learned today, that self-care, right, health, organization, and responsibility helps us feel better. It helps us feel more abundant. It helps us feel better in our bodies. And it also allows us to focus on, feeling more accepted out in the world, better recognized out in the world with that trine to Venus. So you're going to either lean into the Venus-Jupiter trine, which I think is great for love and for money, relationships as well, or we're going to get stuck in this gridlock of Mercury and Mars square the nodes, right? Out in the world, what does this look like? This looks like where, militant action, forced communications, argumentative tendencies, frustrations, standoffs are actually huge turning points for helping us work through conflict, get out of outdated ways of feeling reliant on the relationships that aren't supporting who we are, right? But yeah, them's fighting words with that Mercury-Mars conjunction square the nodes. Many people have asked me over the last year why I moved to Texas, and just to give you guys my 2 cents, follow me on X. I've been talking about what's going on with these incoming eclipses and why it's so active. If you look at the line that actually goes directly through parts of Texas, it's kind of glimmers of what's going to be happening in April, where Texas may be on the front line of showing all Americans why it's important to stand up for your rights and defend yourself. Not to mention defending, the rest of the population, but on a personal level, right? So if Capricorn represents government organizations, federal agents, whatever, Aries actually represents the military. So you guys are seeing this in real time, where we are seeing this tension that's actually building between these two branches here in the great state of Texas. And that's the square, the frustration, the standoff, but also where we can see that there can be some forceful actions that's abusing power on individuals, and how this conflict is actually impacting the lives of individuals. This, I think, is a transit that's going to show us all where we can be better leaders in our own life. I think we're going to be watching leadership, kind of take a stand out in the world. But the reason why I bring that up is because I could see that this eclipse was coming about 2 years ago, and I was like, you know what? there's going to be a lot of changes in the United States. I really thought that moving to Texas was going to be one of the best places because it was going to be one of the states that was going to be most likely to enforce the Constitution. And I have to tell you guys this week, I'm pretty glad that I made the decision that I made, because I feel like it's such a cool place to be, to see what's going on in real time, because I think that it's going to potentially be some historical moments over the next few weeks. So without the politics, what do you guys think? Are you guys following this? I'm filming this actually on Friday, so I don't really know what has happened over the weekend, but yeah, I'd love to hear your guys' hot takes. When I did my recent eclipse webinar last year, I was also talking about this and why this was going to be such a pivotal place and a pivotal time. So would you guys let me do a video on Texas's chart and the United States chart, and also the history of these eclipses, because they're faintly familiar of when Texas originally was focusing on setting a borderline closer, I think, to like the 1870s or the 1880s. I'll have to check my dates on that, but let me know what you guys think. Obviously, as planets are still kind of coming out of this square with Chiron as well, we're very aware of wounding issues and issues with authority. So there can be this sense of people kind of getting on our case about things, or we're feeling like people are pressuring us to take more responsibility, or to make kind of, the necessary shifts to heal ourselves. So please lean into the trine with Venus and Jupiter. That's really going to help you navigate today. Obviously, when we have planets at 18 degrees, this is also dealing with like health, and this is dealing with jobs and job numbers, and where we have to give some kind of service. So I think it's going to be interesting to see. I could see a lot of people today making some big decisions about how they're moving forward with some of their health habits. What they're cutting out, what they're keeping, writing down intentions. That can be really powerful as well with that Mercury-Mars conjunction. Now, the moon's going to keep on moving through Virgo all day long. Looks like we're going to start to pick up in the PM hours the trine to Mercury and Mars, and that's going to be happening overnight, which is going to lead us to Monday the 29th. And we'll still have the moon in Virgo on Monday morning. We're going to start to see the moon come out of a trine with Uranus. So we're kind of adjusting to these changes that have been made since yesterday. And then on Monday morning, the moon is going to be trine Mercury and Mars. So still a pretty decent working day, especially for communication, getting things done. Monday feels very busy. I feel like the second half of Monday is going to be, the first half of Monday is going to be the most productive. And we're still kind of building off of that Venus-Jupiter trine. So it looks like through the changes we made on Sunday, we're also better relating to other people with those planets at a 7. Now, what you'll notice is as we get to midday, we might start to kind of feel like we're losing momentum, to be honest with you. I'm looking at the moon opposed Neptune, and there can be a feeling of being emotionally confused, kind of clouded, unsure, also feeling maybe a little bit more lethargic, a little bit more drowsy. And we're starting to lose that trine that we were getting to Mercury and Mars. So it's like, really keep up the momentum Monday morning. I know a lot of us aren't crazy about Mondays, but get up as early as you can and get things done. It may surprise you that you can kind of wrap up some of your responsibilities earlier in the day, allowing you to kind of have a little bit more free time and maybe like catch a nap or take a little bit of a break. Besides that, nothing else is really going on the second half of Monday. Now we're going to see that moon ingress into Libra early on Tuesday morning. Rather unaspected for the most part. While we're looking at the Libra moon, we're focusing on Venus. It does look like the moon is going to pick up a square to Venus, but it's not going to be until later in the PM hours on Tuesday. So when this square happens, likely we are finding it a little challenging to relate to relationships or partnerships. We are watching that moon come into conjunction with the South Node. We'll pick it up on Wednesday. But for the most part, outside of the Moon-Venus square, where we can be feeling more sensitive or reflecting on our responsibilities out in the world versus our partnerships and our emotional needs with relationships, not much is going on either. Now, what is nice is that when the moon goes through Libra on Tuesday, we'll immediately see a trine to Pluto, and in the evening, we'll see a trine to the sun. So air trines are allowing us to be social, communicate, relate. It does break up a lot of this kind of like earth and water that's in the skies. So Tuesday night can be great for socializing, relating to other people. Just keep in mind with the square to Venus, we may have different, preferences. I kind of see like the moon Venus is like one person wants to eat Chinese food, the other person wants to have Mexican, or somebody wants to go out to dinner and somebody wants to stay home, or different preferences and what kind of movies you're watching or activities you're doing. But learning through the square to work together is the key, and group socializing is very much favored on Tuesday night. Now this is going to take us to Wednesday the 31st. And when we wake up in the morning, the moon is coming into quite a few aspects. So for me, I think Wednesday is where we kind of see some challenging cardinal T-squares. The moon, when it conjuncts its own south node, represents a collective emotional clearing. We might notice that we are kind of maybe pulling away from certain relationships. We're seeking more independence because it's activating that north node in Aries. And as the moon comes into conjunction with the south node, it's also making an opposition to Chiron. So we're taking a sidestep maybe from some work relationship responsibilities, personal relationship responsibilities, and we're starting to see that moon build into a square with Mercury and Mars. Some of you may feel on the 31st that this is very similar to the Mercury-Mars square that you're experiencing on Sunday the 28th. If there was some conflicts or some arguments or difference of opinions, you may find that this comes back up again on Thursday in some way. And obviously watching the moon come into a square with Mars and Mercury can also create some tension in relationships, especially when it comes to responsibilities, who's doing what, who's in charge, who's taking care of what. And really the key, I think, with the Capricorn squares is like accountability. Did you say you were going to do something? Did you actually do it? If you didn't, are you kind of experiencing some friendship fallout, relationship fallout? So definitely can be a little bit more challenging pretty much all day on Wednesday. Now you'll see that the moon is going to connect with an opposition to Chiron around the late morning. It'll hit the south node, so there is a sense of some emotional clearing. After it leaves the south node, it immediately starts coming in the PM hours into a square with Mars and Mercury. So I could see some people having some tiffs midday and then that coming back up in the evening. So just make a note that Wednesday is definitely a day where this Capricorn stellium is very much kind of like the focal point, between the squares with the moon and also the nodes. In my mind, when the moon is coming into a square with Mercury and Mars, there can be some relationship or partnership disruption as a result of goals, responsibilities, work, right? This kind of reads to me as like a night that's like, I was supposed to be home for dinner, but I ended up having to work late, or I had a meeting, or I got stuck with the boss, or, I have deadlines, and like not being able to maintain some of our commitments that we have to other people. Now, the key here, because Venus is the ruler, is to really look at what Venus is doing. She's coming in and she's saying, I understand, I support what you're trying to do. I'll give you your space. I'll let you, kind of do your own thing, and trying to find a way to be able to better meet in the middle. So I would say remain flexible if you can on Wednesday night if you notice any changes with relationships or plans. This will lead us to February 1st. This is Thursday. We're going to start to see the moon finally separate from the south node. We will also see a lunar ingress in the afternoon where the moon's going to go into Scorpio. And Mercury is going to start building into a sextile with Neptune. So there's some stuff going on here. Mercury sextile Neptune for me almost reads as if there is a need to really tap into our visions, our intuition, our dreams, our gut feelings. Sextiles are supporting energies. And if Neptune represents our spiritual abilities or our rest and recuperation. Mercury represents what we're able to get done. So maybe we're finding a way to kind of find like our flow with our work responsibilities. Maybe we're taking time to rest in between. We catch a break, or maybe we get the opportunity to get some extra sleep, take a nap, hang out, watch a movie. So they're working side by side. And Mercury is really saying, I'm willing to do the work as long as it is in alignment with my vision. Now, like I said, that moon is going to leave Libra, and that'll be in the afternoon hours. And it's going to go into Scorpio, and that lunar shift is going to be felt. So somewhere around mid to late afternoon, when the moon goes into Scorpio, it's immediately squaring Pluto, ruler of Scorpio. So this does make me feel like there can be some emotional challenges, some power struggles. We can also feel emotionally a little bit more on edge and reactionary. And the moon will start opposing Jupiter as well. So there's going to be a number of aspects that are actually going to lead into Friday. Now that moon's going to keep moving, so let me show you that. And when it comes out of the square with Pluto, it'll be the evening hours. And overnight, the moon will pick up a opposition to Jupiter. So there could be some big feelings coming up over the evening hours leading into Friday morning. We will also see the moon trine Saturn, so that's emotionally stabilizing. And in the morning, we're going to start to see that swing into a square with the sun. So this leads me to Friday the 2nd. Some interesting stuff here. First of all, the moon square the sun is going to be the first quarter square. So we'll be experiencing that. The third quarter square. So this is kind of wrapping up as we're getting ready to come into what will eventually be a new moon in Aquarius. And when the sun and the moon square, things don't always go according to plan. So once again, Friday would be another day where we can see some challenges with meeting deadlines and schedules and things of that nature. I don't want to take away from Mars though, because Mars is association with Scorpio as well. And Mars is smack dab between Mercury, the communicator, and Venus, the goddess. So, Mars's recent trine to Uranus does also kind of say all week we're learning to kind of shift gears. We're pivoting in our resources, our eating habits, our self-esteem. We're working hard to make some changes, and we're kind of shifting gears a little bit and making adjustments now that Uranus is direct. I do feel like, the support that we get of Mars and Venus is saying stay on task, stay focused, stay steadfast, stay dedicated, don't give up. And the sextiles to Neptune really help us kind of focus on our dreams and our vision. But you will feel that three-quarter square. So Friday can be a day where things feel a little funky. There's like a lot of moving parts because that Scorpio moon is also opposing Uranus. So we even see this into Friday night, kind of having to respond differently to shifts in our values and resources. And then that moon is going to square the sun in Aquarius. So then we've got a fixed T-square. That for me almost feels like the initiation point right before all these planets get ready to come into Aquarius, that it's saying like, hey, this sun in Aquarius, this thing, it's asking you to change. It's asking us this month in February to make some big changes and step collectively into our future, and that we're actively, making our future happen now. It's in real time. We're not waiting for it to arrive. It's something that's going to just start unfolding, and we have to kind of roll with it. This is also financial signs, so, Scorpio, Taurus, and Aquarius. So there can be some financial news and things that are coming out on Friday later in the afternoon. This will then take us to Saturday, February the 3rd. And this is when we pick up the opposition to the moon early in the morning. The nice thing is that we are going to start to see a sextile between the moon and all this Capricorn. So we're actually feeling change. We're leaning into change. We're making change our responsibility. We're making it our goal. And in the later morning, you'll see that moon come into a trine with Neptune. So we're emotionally kind of bouncing back. We're reflecting. We're willing to let things go. We're dissolving some stuff that feels like it hasn't been working for us. And the day pretty much ends with that trine to Neptune and a sextile to Mercury. Okay. And what's interesting is that Mercury is getting pretty darn close to Pluto. So maybe that Scorpio moon has all of us picking up on Saturday, hey, we're getting news that this thing is going to change, or that this is going to be shifting, or that this is no longer how we're doing stuff collectively or personally. You're going to have to look at where Aquarius is in your chart. Let's see what else. And then, yeah, finishes off with that sextile to Mercury and Mars. So it's a pretty decent working day, even with the moon in Scorpio. And then that's going to take us to Sunday. And when we wake up in the morning on Sunday, the moon's in Sagittarius. And obviously it's going to pick up Sunday morning a square to Saturn. So keep in mind, there could be some grumpy people Sunday morning, some challenges emotionally relating, experiencing some delays, especially with Sagittarian topics like travel, education, and maybe feeling a little bit optimistic. The nice thing is that as the moon continues to keep moving, it will start sextiling the sun and making some trines to the North Node. So I don't see Sunday as a day that's all negative. I feel like it's just going to get better as the day goes on. So for me, I think some of the plans that are going to be best made are going to be the second half of the day in like the mid to late afternoon. Now, something else that we're going to see is Mercury is at 29 degrees on Sunday. So you've been advised, communication can feel very critical. It can feel very stressed. There can be a sense of like the pace picking up. We might notice some obsessive thoughts coming up, some obsession and fixation, especially at the beginning of February. I joked in my horoscopes that this is going to be like, basically February is going to be like conspiracy theorists, like dreams with all the weird stuff that's happening in the world, because Pluto represents depth and death, and uncovering things. So we might notice that, we're feeling called to do some research on something or look into something further. Equally, there can be like obsession, fixation, paranoia that can be coming up, intense communication, mind games can be played. So you want to watch for that. The only planet that we've actually had hit Pluto so far has been the sun. So if you think about what happened around the 21st of January when the sun and Pluto ingressed into Aquarius together, now we have this team of planets that are going to also be sweeping through Aquarius and touching with Pluto. So now's a really good time to look at your chart, okay? Pull it out, get your red Sharpie, circle your Aquarius chart and the Aquarius house and take a look at what's going on there, because this is where all of the action this month is going to be. All right, so this takes us into February. Like I said, there's not that much going on this week, all right? So aside from some lunar transits, and really I think the bigger transit is taking place today with the Mercury-Mars conjunction, the week should go pretty smoothly. But February themes for me, I'm going to take you guys through the transits that seem the most prominent, really is just about what's going on with Aquarius in our chart. Aquarius represents the collective. It represents the future. It's about technology, the internet, masses of people, networks, goals. And we're going to see all of this become major focal points in the month of February. I live in the United States. You might live somewhere else. I've been reading for weeks now about everything going on with like the Dutch farmers. We've also seen now that kind of, moving and kind of bleeding into the French farmers. I know there's been stuff going on with the protests in Germany. And obviously you're not going to see this on the mainstream news, but if you go looking for it on Twitter or now X or other various independent media, you're going to see that there is this great awakening that's taking place right now. And I love when astrology is like bang on. I love hearing how a lot of this rebelliousness, but this uprising, this standing for truth is coming from Taurus archetypes, right? And that's because Uranus is in Taurus. So People who are farmers are Taurus. People who are builders and contractors and architects are Taurus. Artists, jewelers, but also marketplaces. This can also be about wallets and banking and food and resources. So as we see this month, kind of unfold, there is a ton of planets that will move into Aquarius by mid-month, and it's squaring Jupiter and Uranus. So it's going to make things feel bigger. It's going to make things feel inflamed. It can be that there's too much of a good thing. It could mean that there's growing pains. Jupiter is also about law, and it is also about global tendencies, patterns, right? And anything that really deals with the moral high ground, right? Because Jupiter was seen as the king of all kings. So when we look at Jupiter and Uranus, now both direct in the same sign, they're on this fast track between now and April, where we have a lot of big energies. Jupiter and Uranus will collide, where we're going to see some kind of innovation, I think, in the banking industry, and we're going to see more about the future of food. But I also feel like this is a huge turning point for all of us collectively, where there is this major focus on doing the right thing. And I'm not somebody who's all about determining what's right from wrong, but when I say the right thing, I think, the moral thing to do, the right thing to do in that sense. I think we're going to hear a lot more about politics with the stellium of planets in Aquarius, and the squares to Jupiter and Uranus will likely be showing where people are paid off, or where they are being manipulated, or where they are being funded. And that can create some sparks definitely in certain political arenas. I think of just like recently, the last couple of weeks, hearing the story of Ricky Lake leaking that audio file of her having a conversation with somebody who is in Arizona. I don't remember his specific title, but somebody who was in government in Arizona, who was essentially suggesting people were, asking her, hey, maybe you just take a step back for 2 years and don't run, don't do anything. And was in so many ways alluding to wanting to pay her off to not participate in future elections, to which she was like, no, I can't be bought. I don't want your money. It doesn't matter. This is the right thing to do. Once again, not politicking, but this is the energy that we are going to be seeing, where people are going to be saying, you can't buy me, right? I'm not for sale. This is the higher octave of that particular square. I also feel like this is where we're going to see some radical changes, with food prices. They're going to go up, especially if we continue to see this standoff going on with farmers in Europe and the government over the environmental taxes. This is environmental extreme, Pluto and Aquarius, environmental themes that are going on collectively that's putting pressure on people who are in agriculture, the people, putting pressure also on the banking system. I think of the stellium that we had in, I think it was the beginning of 21. I think that was all the GameStop stuff. Very similar energies to what we're seeing now. So I wonder if we're going to see some kind of banding together, some crowdfunding, some people who are also kind of really very much getting involved in the markets and having a huge impact on, where stocks are on the rise. But also it's going to be about people voting with their wallets and realizing and recognizing that they can support certain brands or certain companies if they align with their values. So kind of more or less what we're going to see, all month long. Be mindful that Pluto is definitely going to be knocking on everybody's door, because Mercury, Mars, and Venus are going to be meeting with Pluto, and Pluto is going to say, hey, this is what has to change if you want to do these things. And it will all be about the future. Now, after these planets meet with Pluto, they're going to square Jupiter. So we're going to see the impacts that it's going to have on law. People will be challenging, the current, laws and kind of, lay of the land. People are also probably going to be having some really significant, lawsuits that are going to be defining future decisions. We are also going to see then planets come into a square with Uranus. So that will then have some kind of effect on the masses, our spending abilities, our banks, things of that nature. So if you saw my horoscopes, I talk about how there's a lot of repetition in some of the transits this month. It's purely because everything's got to kind of meet with Pluto, find out what's changing, then the response that we have to that physically with Jupiter, and then how we're adapting to these changes. What's interesting is that, Aquarius is in a superior position. And that means that it's kind of beaming down on all of this energy in Taurus. Now, the outlet for this, perhaps, sextiles to Chiron, sextiles to the North Node, where we're kind of leaning into healing ourselves, not feeling so alienated, not feeling wounded, not identifying as a victim. Instead, finding some sense of commonality with other people. And it can be a wonderful time to socialize, to make new friends, to join new groups, to start new groups, to really think about your future goals and what you're going to be building here for the better part of the next 20 years. Because even though Pluto is going to retrograde back into Capricorn, it'll be very brief. And I think it's going to be staying in Aquarius until, I think it's going to be like 2044. So yeah, get familiar with Aquarius in your chart. That's my recommendation. Be aware that these Pluto-Mars conjunctions are going to be probably moments where there can be hot, intense passion, heated debates, because this is an intellectual sign. It's an air sign. Aquarius is traditionally ruled by Saturn, so it does deal with limits and boundaries and borders. And I think we're going to hear more about that, but especially the limits when it comes to Congress, the limits when it comes to the internet. And unfortunately, that may even have something to do with, limited view, visibility. I think that there's still going to be issues that we're going to see with, stuff that's being monitored and things that are being like throttled. That's kind of the feeling that I get. Recently, I was listening to some talk on, I want to say it was like Redacted, but they were talking about how, there is some cause of concern for future bank runs. And they were basically saying like, oh, this is like a concern, and now they're going to be, the EU has come out and said that they're monitoring social media for people who are stirring the pot and creating disinformation in relation to financial patterns, and that they're going to be watching and looking at social media to determine who's doing that and whether or not certain things need to be censored or shadow banned, so that information is not spreading, right? Whether it's true or false, that's neither here nor there. Another example of where, limitation and oversight, Aquarius, is limiting our ability to have information about the rapid changes that are taking place in our financial systems. More importantly, which ones are declining, which ones are getting ready to go bankrupt or belly up. And also this new stuff that's getting ready to be introduced. It's no longer a conspiracy. Now we are seeing that there is talks about moving towards a CBDC, especially in and involving the central banks in parts of Europe. They've talked about it here in the United States. I get a big smile on my face when I see things like there are certain countries that are now saying they are requiring that cash be accepted. I think that's a good thing. I think people need to have the ability to choose. And I also know that all of these conjunctions that are coming into squares may also kind of talk about, through sudden changes and crisis points, which may come up intermittently between now and May, that is the entryway to basically introduce and encourage people to adopt these new currencies. If we are needing to do it for, environmental reasons, if we are need to do it for security reasons, certainly Pluto in Aquarius is going to talk a lot about that. So whether they're real or not, you'll have to kind of be the judge of that. I do think that this is going to be the month where we are going to be seeing how all of these new policies and these new, conversations about humanitarian efforts, about, political moves and things that are going on with technology could potentially be threatening our financial system or our resources. And, here's the problem. If we create a solution, we'll make it really easy to kind of onboard you. I thought for some time that that was essentially going to be the carrot that lures people onto the system, and then you're in it. So you have to decide if that's something that you want to do. So much of Aquarius energy is about, creating, separate kind of communities or things that are different, or, other ways of being able to transact, or, separate kind of even like economies. So we may see some people who are focusing more on bartering and trading. We might see some people who are interested in other forms of currency, or, being able to have currency exchange, or opting for new ways of using digital currency. But best believe this is going to be a hot topic all month long. The other thing that I think is worth mentioning that's a pretty big energy is the North Node Chiron conjunction, which will be taking place this month as well. I've been watching this selfishly, primarily because it's happening on my moon. But I think that, for me, it's really been interesting to see how it's really started materializing in a very literal way. Aries is about the individual. It's about the army and this, the deployment. It can be about a potential indication that, individuals are going to be impacted by the potential threat of war, which we're seeing all over the world, which, I think it's safe to say none of us want war. But how that may be kind of concerning or stressing out or impacting individuals. Aries is younger people, it deals with the head and the face. So we're going to hear more about potentially, concussion issues pertaining to sinuses and our ability to kind of breathe. Inflammation can be a huge topic as well, especially in younger people. And the ruler is Mars. So when we see this conjunction taking place, you guys will see it in a second, Mars is going to be in Aquarius. And so what we're going to be hearing is that, if there is some kind of attack, Mars, that's going on potentially, with, technology, the impact that it has on us individuals, right? And like where technology and other things are also maybe also not good for us as individuals. I think we may hear a lot just with Pluto and Aquarius about transhumanism. And I think that we're going to be hearing the pros and the cons of it. And I think we're going to be hearing, panels and a lot of people meeting and debating things with Pluto and Aquarius about how that's actually taking away from our ability to, kind of feel self-governed and to make decisions and to feel like we have freedoms. But I also anticipate that this is going to be an indication that we're going to see, some kind of wave of health-related issues that are going to be coming. Factor this in with an early April 2024 eclipse conjunct Chiron at 19 degrees, a Mercury retrograde there at 19 degrees. We will then also see in the beginning of 2025, Mercury and Venus will go retrograde in Aries. And that eclipse in April is going to roll for about a year. So, what's being seeded with this conjunction in February, we will be dealing with for about a year, if not a little bit longer. When any planets come into contact with that, 16 to 20 degrees, like Mars later this year, or when eclipses activate that, we're going to see that kind of unfold. You guys know how I feel about a lot of this stuff pertaining to our rights and our choices when it comes to health and wellness. But I will tell you that the effects that we see from these particular eclipses are going to either have people upset, angry, or feeling determined to become more physically active, more self-sufficient, better when it comes to self-defense, more so empowered, and it can give you the opportunity to use that frustration and do something with it. Fire is Aries, and Mars, can also be associated with anger and frustration, and it can be all-consuming. So I think we're going to be learning a lot about the effects of that, how that affects us, how it affects the body, if we're kind of keeping that core wound of feeling separate, isolated, powerless, open and not treating it, the effects that it can actually have on our health, and also keep us in that state of being alienated, right? If we are united during these times, then we're going to be a much stronger force than if we are all divided. And so I hate to break it to you guys, but when all these planets go into Aquarius and we start seeing these conjunctions, it does not matter what gender you are. It does not matter what background you come from. It doesn't matter how much money you make. None of these things matter, because Aquarius represents where we peel all of those labels and those titles off and we go, okay, we're all, together in this as one. And so we can see this as the minority pushing these ideals on the majority and we fight, or we can see this as, look, we have to accept each other for how we are. We can't tell each other who or what to be, but what we can realize is that we're in this mess together, and there's only one way we're going to get out of it. And so I think that there can be this shift in consciousness that can be happening where people are starting to realize that nobody is necessarily safe in a sense of being discriminated from. And also all of our rights and freedoms are kind of on the line here. And so if we're playing this identity politics, or if we are being hateful, or if we are discriminating against people, it's not going to get us anywhere. And I think that we're in a pivotal moment of change. The truth is like, look, fixed signs don't like squares, you know, they don't want to change. And you're going to notice as all of these planets are coming into Aquarius, the dispositor of Aquarius, which is the modern day ruler, is Uranus, is going to get hit. So we're going to start to see where we're not leaning into making these changes collectively, you know, the impact that it can have on all of us in disrupting the financial, systems. Now, I think this can be good in a sense of people saying, no, we're not going to do that. We're not going forward with that. We're not going to eat the bugs. You know, we're not going to be limiting power. We're not going to be shutting things down. And so there is a lot of power in banding together as we start to see all of these planets come into Aquarius. So if that's not your future, if you don't subscribe to that, if you don't accept that, I encourage you to start banding together with other people who can actively start creating change. And what's beautiful, I think, is the sextiles to Chiron in the North Node is that it's all going to make us kind of feel like we're being accepted again. You know, we're getting out of this sense where, you know, I think it's become so normal over the last 4 years to just not interact with people, cut people off for their belief systems, their political views, their religion, their background, and so quick to alienate other people. And I think in doing so, we begin to kind of alienate ourselves, right? I look forward to some of the public discussions that's going to happen over the next month. I feel like that's going to be a really wonderful thing. I think that it's going to be a great thing to help encourage people to learn how to, how to have debates again, how to, be able to banter and go back and forth without feeling like there has to be hard feelings or that there needs to be a sense of silencing or shutting people down. So I think the key here is to keep an open mind. You know, the more that I look into the astrology of the next couple of years, the more that I start to kind of realize like maybe this is not supposed to be a situation where we see like a civil war, but more of like a unification and an opportunity for us to unify in the midst of, some of these really challenging themes that kind of lie ahead of us. Maybe I'm optimistic. I don't know. Let me know what you think. All right, so let me show you guys the transits that are going to be for the month ahead. I have heard you guys loud and clear. Everybody wants to see the transits on the screen while you see my chart and you see me. But the truth is the way that I record this and also the space, we only have so much space. So I hear you. These transits will be pinned in the comments. So if you go and click the details tab, it will give you all of my links and all that stuff, which is cool in itself. But it will also give you these transits, so you can actually have a copy of them. Also, somewhere, I don't know which side it's on, this side or this side, at the top, you're going to see the dates on the screen. So you will actually see when I'm talking, it will give you the date right up here, so you guys can see it there as well. So hopefully that's helpful for you guys if you're questioning where that information is. All right, so let's talk February 5th. Because that's the first day that I wanted to discuss. Mercury enters Aquarius, yay! So, I consider Mercury to be exalted here. I feel like this is where we can really get into like the higher mind. It's also a scientific sign. It's an air sign. I love Mercury in Aquarius. I think it's wonderful for all of the conspiracy theorists out there, but also, I love that it's met with a conjunction to Pluto. So Mercury, in this case, is kind of ahead of the gang, receiving information before other planets come into contact, Mars and Venus. This is a day where likely there could be some bombshell information, some stuff coming out that is just absolutely wild. You have to kind of say, where did you get that? Like, what is your source? This is crazy. At the time of the conjunction, it's at 0 degrees. And obviously Uranus is the ruler, so it's going to be about some future impending changes that maybe is happening with Taurus-related things in your chart. We will see that conjunction kind of building the 4th, 5th into the 6th. but the conjunction itself will be on the 5th. And what's interesting is that the next day, on the 6th, okay, so that's the conjunction, and then we get into the 6th. The next day, we start to see Venus square the north and south node. So I couldn't help but notice, like, is the news financially related? Is it relationship related? You know, what's going on there? So Venus square the north and the south node, you know, you got to look back on what has really been going on for, you know, since mid-2023. You know, we've seen Pluto square the nodes. Then just recently in Capricorn season, the sun squared the nodes with that new moon in Capricorn. And then we had Mercury and Mars square the nodes this last week. It's happening right now, so pay attention. And then here comes Venus, and she's the final square. What does it mean? We need to add some love and a little bit more love. Thankfully, it's at a 17. So that's about like, what do we love? What brings us joy? What are we the most passionate about? And something about leadership, because it's in a Leo degree. I keep saying through this frustration, you're going to see through this conflict, there is opportunity for leadership to emerge. There's an opportunity to really take a step up. Here in America, now we're starting to see some similar themes of what was going on with the Freedom Convoy in Canada. And so if you don't know about it, now it's coming here. We are seeing through parts of Southern California, all the way through Arizona, New Mexico, and into Texas, that we are seeing a Freedom Convoy that is organizing peaceful protests, where they are going and basically doing what they can do to protest all along the southern border to protect the United States, because that is one of the main entry points for the rest of the country. So if you aren't aware of that, I'm curious to see, because Mercury can be vehicles and Pluto and Mercury can be powerful voices that are being heard, that's challenging the rules. And then here comes Mercury and Mars, and they're together and they're squaring. So maybe that can be peaceful protests, I hope. So watch for, you know, significant themes with love and money, you know, this particular day as well. I feel like this is a huge turning point for finding out what relationships are really made of. And I have found that sometimes significant people can kind of come into our life when we have Venus square the nodes. It's just coming out of a square to Chiron. So there was like a wounding that was going on maybe on the 5th. We had to talk about it with the Mercury-Pluto conjunction and then Venus squares. All right. So then on the 7th, we are going to see Mars in Capricorn, sextile Neptune in Pisces. I like it. It's kind of vibey, to be honest with you guys. If Mars is our action and dedication and energy, and Neptune represents like a softening, I really feel like this is the ability to let dreams lead the way, to help us feel inspired. It could be that we have some visual, vision board or image or photo or meditation or belief that's helping kind of navigate and stay committed. We may feel as if we have to be kind of leaning on our faith a little bit more or trusting our intuition when it comes to making moves. And it softens the energy of Mars, which is usually pretty, like I said, militant in Capricorn. But we kind of feel like there's also a sense of feeling supported, like people coming to help us if we feel like we're in need in some way, and softening some of the challenges or the confusion maybe that we see with Neptune. Decent aspect. It's going to be short-lived. You're not going to have it for very long. And then we are going to see on the 8th. So this will be, there we go. This is going to be interesting. So the 7th, when we have the dark moon, right before we come into the new moon, if you're looking for a day where you're like, I want to cut out a bad habit, I want to quit my job, or like give my boss the finger, like, I can see that happening on the 7th. We're going to see the moon first touch Venus, which is saying, I'm opening up to what I truly value, what I need. Then the moon is going to hit Mars. So it can be a very passionate day on the 7th. But I like this moon, Mars, Pluto, Mercury right before the new moon on the 8th as like cord cutting, cleansing, clearing, purging, detoxifying, clearing out, letting something go. So you guys are going to notice this is not a very quiet new moon. Have you guys noticed how loud the lunations have been? We just had a full moon in Leo. It was opposed Pluto square Jupiter. Now we're getting ready to have a new moon in Aquarius, which is going to be almost almost exactly, almost shy of a degree square Uranus. So Uranus is definitely making itself known. It's letting you know that this rumble is going to be coming. And anytime I see a new moon in Aquarius, I mean, come on, we have to go our own way. But when we see that new moon that's going to be square Uranus, oh my goodness. So it looks like it's going to be at a 20, which will be a Scorpio degree. So we're going to see that new moon in Aquarius, February 9th, 2024. So watch for that. Obviously, Uranus is the ruler. It squares. We have also got Venus, which has just recently been in a trine to Uranus as well. Let me show you guys that really quick. I just caught that. So Venus trines Uranus on the 7th, and this is for changes and updates in money, resources, values, work, relationships. So I like that trine. It's at a 19. That's just before the new moon. Then we're going to have the new moon that's coming in with the moon hitting Mercury. So we have an idea about the future on the 8th, and then we execute, and we're planting these new seeds for what we're hoping to create after the new moon on the 9th. Now we're going to see the sun obviously in that new moon squaring Uranus. That's kind of starting on the 8th. So there's also this kind of like wild card energy of like anything goes, not really knowing, you know, what's about to happen, especially with that sun in its fall square Uranus. February to me feels like such a wild card. I mean, pretty much from I think like the 17th on, we'll see that stellium. But this to me feels like, okay, ready or not, you know, here the future comes. Then we're going to see on the 12th, Mars will enter into Aquarius, okay, which is important because Mars rules that north node. So we shift out of like, you know, cardinal earth, working, goals, responsibility, focus. And then we see Mars come into conjunction with Pluto. Oof, 13th. Same day, Venus is going to sextile Neptune. It's so funny. It's like I was talking to my husband, telling him about how all these people are protesting, and he's like, don't people have to work? And now that I look at Mars leaving Capricorn, coming into conjunction with Pluto, I feel like there are going to be some people who are going to be like, fuck work. Like there's some stuff going on that's, you know, people being like, well, you know, if we don't do something now, if we just continue to just grind and make a paycheck and kind of get on with our lives, you know, then you know, we're going to miss this opportunity to go and be a part of some things happening over the next month that's really important for humanity. I was reading, unfortunately, yesterday, they were saying that, you know, like, we're seeing that farmers are blocking, you know, areas in France that, you know, it's hard for people to get in and out, and they're saying it's going to be hard to get food in. And obviously, farmers and food suppliers and people who are in distribution, you know, they bring the stuff in, but if they're making it impossible, they're creating blockages. Hi, fix squares. It's impossible for people to consume. So we're seeing masses of people coming together, making it difficult for people to buy things, have resources, or it could be, you know, where numbers of people are having a huge impact on something financially, you know, coming together, crowdfunding, you know, rejecting something. February makes me feel like I smell like another cancel campaign for a major company. I don't know who it's going to be, but to me, it seems like it's going to be something along the lines of what we've seen with like the Budweiser stuff. So when we see like one big company get canceled for something, for going woke, February is likely going to produce a similar campaign. And I'm wondering who or what is it going to be? What are people going to be basically kind of nicking? I don't know. Anyway, Mars and Pluto come into conjunction. Some big energies. Obviously, Mars rules the North Node. Mars in Aquarius does not want to be told what to do. It's also fixed air, so it wants to be free. It wants to do its own thing. It needs some sense of individuality in the crowd, and it wants to stand out. Mars-Pluto contacts is volcanic. It erupts. It blows up. And Uranus is connected to Uranus. So this feels like things can either be extremely passionate and very sexy and really great in that sense, or it could be a situation where, you know, people are really feeling the pressure of like what's going on in the world. And we could see some people who could be really angry. It could be dangerous as well. The day that this happens, we'll see the moon coming into conjunction with Chiron, reverberating off of this Pluto-Mars conjunction. watch out for that. To me, that feels like it's not a day to go toe-to-toe with people or have conflict. That's just my hot take. Thankfully, we do see Venus that's sextiling Neptune, so there is room for peace. There is room for negotiation. But I feel like as we get into mid-February, these energies just become more and more intense. Now, on the 16th, we're going to see Venus enter into the group of this Capricorn stellium. So, February, obviously Valentine's Day, if you care about that. Valentine's Day, we're going to see Venus in Capricorn. We're going to see Mars in Aquarius. A lot of people are going to be opting to, do things with groups of people, going out with groups of people, hanging out with friends, not subscribing to your traditional Hallmark holiday. And Venus in Capricorn feels kind of classy and, kind of like traditional and conservative. So it doesn't really seem super sexy, but I guess we can look at that if you guys want. So it looks like we will have a moon ingress. Okay, so the moon's going to be in Taurus. Maybe I take that back a little bit. Moon will be in Taurus on Valentine's Day. It'll come in conjunction with Jupiter, which can be luxurious. It could definitely be something that is also about pleasure, good food, good wine, good music. And Venus is in the late degrees coming into conjunction with Pluto. So, if you're celebrating on the 14th, 15th, that moon in Taurus is nice, trine Venus, obviously the goddess of love. But I'm not wild about this stellium that's squaring all of this. It almost feels as if our goals revolving around relationships and pleasure and value is changing. And some people may say, well, we can definitely exchange elaborate gifts, but why don't we go and do something fun? Why don't we go out with our friends? It feels a little bit more updated, a little bit more modern, a little less intimate, but it is what it is. All right, so something we're going to see also on the 16th, other than Venus entering into Aquarius, and she will immediately be met with, once again, a conjunction to Pluto. So you're going to have to kind of pay attention to what happens these days when there's Pluto contacts. Venus-Pluto, I think of passion, depth, intensity, but also there can be some obsession, there can be some fixation. I wonder if this is some people who are really putting a lot of focus and emphasis on Valentine's Day, and then Venus hits Pluto, and some people are they didn't call me, or they didn't call me back, or they didn't make an effort, and the changes in relationships. Not purely just because Venus is conjunct Pluto, but Venus rules the South Node in Libra, so there can be the sense of breaking away from the old outdated ways of doing relationships, updating them, doing them in a new way. Remember, all of this in Aquarius is connected to Uranus in Taurus, and Uranus is at a 19 degree. So there's lots of updating, innovations, changes in relationships. There's lots of changes to friendships, what we're valuing, what we want, what we need. I keep finding myself talking to clients and saying to them, with the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction, we're going to see a mass number of people that are going to be impulse buying and spending and consuming because they're trying to fill a void. And, something that's come up a lot for me, but also talking to people about getting out of this rut of the consumerism is, do you want to have things or do you want to have experiences? And I've had a number of really enlightening conversations with people who are telling me, I'm intentionally not really spending a lot of money. I'm not buying things this year because I really want to go on a vacation, or I really want to go back to school, or I would like to, be able to, invest in a new business or a new hobby. And so when I think of experiences and I think of our goals and our dreams, I think of Aquarius. And so suddenly we see all of these planets in Aquarius, and, the future is now. It starts this literally mid-month. We start realizing it's not something we're putting off into the future. We're doing it right now. And it's as a result of some changes that we're making to our consuming habits. And Aquarius, obviously, they like to party, they like to have a good time. That's really what all of this is. And they want to be around like-minded friends. So not only is the Venus-Pluto conjunction about this deep, powerful shift in the way that we look at resources, but the moon's going to pick up as well. And it'll be in Gemini, so it's going to be an air party. And Mercury is going to trine. So I think Valentine's Day is on a Wednesday, if I remember correctly. So this looks like a Friday, and my goodness, I would imagine some of the Valentine's Day parties and get-togethers and dates on Friday are going to be quite fun. I think that this would almost be a better time to be celebrating, in my opinion. Anyway, Holy cow, massive stellium in Aquarius. Look at your chart. That house, the theme of that house is just really quite loud, to be honest with you. And the 16th and the 17th, as this moon swings through Gemini and it starts to trine, we see a planet that's going to hit 29 degrees of Aquarius, and we see some planets at the beginning of the degrees. And I'm very excited to see what happens in February. That's all I can say. All right, so then on the 18th, we're going to see the sun enter into Pisces. So it's going to officially be Pisces season. So if you're a February Aquarius or Pisces, happy birthday to you. As the sun moves into Pisces, it's going to receive a trine from the moon in Cancer. Pretty nice ingress, very sensitive, very emotional, definitely reflective. And now we are getting into the part of the year where we're winding down and we're preparing for what will eventually be the new year, when we have the spring equinox, at least here in the northern hemisphere, during Aries season. Now, something else that's kind of cool that you're going to see, and this will start on the 21st, we're going to see a Mars-Venus conjunction. Hey, I like that. Every so often we see Mars and Venus conjunct. It's usually not for very long. You'll see it for a period of just a few days. And we've got Mars and Venus, ruler of the North and the South nodes, so the collective future and past working together. It's going to meet in Aquarius, so it's a little funky, a little futuristic. It's different. It's unconventional. It can also be about platonic love, goals, and things that we create with others and groups. And it's going to be at a 5. So that's pretty romantic. That's pretty sexy, if you ask me. So February the 20th is another day that I really, really like. And something that you guys will see is that this conjunction is going to move side by side. Okay, so if we watch the 21st, the 21st, there we go. It'll hit 6 degrees, 27th, it'll hit 7 degrees, and then it'll start to kind of separate by the 23rd. And then finally, what we're going to see on the 24th is a Venus-Jupiter square. I laughed and said this is the day that you want to put the credit cards away, watch the sugar, watch the overdoing it. But I really feel like this is where hard work and dedication and team effort is paying off in some way. February 24th. And then we're going to see on the 27th, Mars will square Jupiter. Okay, so that's an over-the-top, pushing through things, fighting through things. There can be some challenges in also our resources and our values. We can be feeling like we're being forced into making some kind of a change. Big for, emotional reactions, getting kind of sassy or feeling kind of on edge with people. This is also a day that you don't want to overdo it. When I see stuff going on with Saturn and Mars square Jupiter, it's like you're going too hard at the gym, you're forcing something. Something will bend and then it can snap, especially when we see fixed squares. Then we will see on the 28th, and this is something that I've been talking to you guys about for some time, but the 28th is a really interesting day. So check this out, guys. We're going to see very early in the morning on the 28th, a triple conjunction. Mercury, the Sun, and Saturn will all align at 9 degrees of Pisces. Well, Pisces, what is hidden, what's behind the scenes, it's what's going on in the ethers, what's going on in the ocean. It can be about storms. It can be about something that has to do with Pisces-related, matters. Saturn is here, and it is about borders and boundaries, okay? We've seen Saturn and Neptune. It's been the illusion of control, the illusion of boundaries and borders, the illusion of leadership, right? Realizing that it's not working. It's kind of like an emperor has no clothes moment. And then the Sun, Saturn, getting serious about shining a light on some of these serious situations or where things are dissolving. And then Mercury. This will be right after the full moon that'll be in Virgo, by the way. So let me show you guys that first. So we'll have a full moon in Virgo. It looks like it's going to be around 8 degrees. No, I take that back. 5 degrees on the 24th of February. All right, so full moon in Virgo, ruled by Mercury. Mercury is in its fall in Pisces, conjunct the sun and Saturn. So it's bringing some light to, okay, there is cause for concern about health, wellness, organization, service, habits, because Mercury is in a sign that deals with mental health, emotional health, sleep issues, immune system issues. Mercury could be news. So we're going to hear more fear-mongering on health matters. And then a few days later, that Mercury, Sun, Mars conjunction. Do I have my book around me? I don't think I have it. I'll do a video on it, on the Sabian symbol for that, because I want to do a whole video on it and talk about it through the 12 signs. I do that in my horoscopes. But I have a hunch here that there's going to be something that's going to be coming up about some kind of news about limitation. Especially it could be pertaining to immigration, it could be travel, there could be a major court decision or law decision revolving around, limitation of travel or immigration. I mean, we know recently here in the United States, this whole matter with the southern border, it went to the Supreme Court, and 2 of the court justices voted essentially to say, no, the Biden administration has to be allowed to remove some of the barriers at the border unconstitutionally, I feel, because the states have the ability to be able to protect themselves from invasion. It's built in, at least to the Texas Constitution, at the very least. But I'm wondering if this is going to be like a real turning point where we're going to be experiencing some news about something legally, especially with the South Node Moon in Libra. I do feel like that's going to be interesting. And the financial, repercussions that this has, because this is all building off of Jupiter, the traditional ruler, which is money related, and how that's impacting, all of us financially, what we're paying for, essentially, what it's costing to be able to kind of let this get out of hand. And then we'll continue to see planets that are going to be coming into, contact with Saturn and evidently also Neptune. And then on the 29th, we will see the Mercury sextile Jupiter. And so I feel like the effects of the 28th is bringing the news about how that's impacting all of us legally, but also in regards to in regards to land. We might be hearing more about how that's affecting physical spaces and places. Yeah, I'm going to have to do a video on that because I don't know. Let me see. Maybe I can pull that up, let you guys know what the Sabian symbol is. I don't have my book on me. Sabian symbol. So it'll be 10 degrees Pisces, I think. Thank you guys for bearing with me here. Come on. Here we go. An aviator in the clouds. Let's see. Okay. An aviator in the clouds. Piscean journey highlights a dynamic of individual identity in the context of collective identity. How in the world are we as individuals to get along with others? You can consider this in terms of trying to fit into an office or culture at work, or a club scenario where you are but one member. You can think of this as more metaphysical lines. How do I understand myself in the human collective? When issues come up such as political or religious identity, social or family identity, and how does the individual fit in? Pisces 10 suggests guiding principle lies in feeling one's way through rather than placing trust in reason. External measures or fog, conflicting expectations, literally one is flying by the seat of their pants. The seat, the tailbone, often turns to be an exquisite source of guiding information. When you're flying up in the clouds with zero visibility, the tailbone or sacral area is the grounding point of reference. Interesting. I'll do a video on that, but still, something about important intuitive hits, that we get, or words of wisdom, advice, something that we have to really kind of tune into, because this is a Neptunian energy. This is an energy where the answer may only come from a meditation or dream symbolism, or a conversation we have with a spiritual advisor, or talking to a therapist, or just taking time to really let something kind of sink in and marinate. It's a very intuitive day, so it's a good day to have your tarot cards on hand. And that's really the month at a glance. You know, that's what's going to be happening. I will be here obviously throughout the entire month. You guys can catch me here on Sundays doing astro weather, and you can catch me here on Tuesdays and Thursdays doing kind of my weekly astro musings. Fridays, we're always here 5 o'clock p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern, and we're doing readings, either tarot or astrology. Awesome place to come and hang out if you don't have anything going on a Friday night. There's lots of cool, fun, familiar faces. We have a good time, and we can kind of learn a little bit more about tarot and astrology. And also, I want to remind you guys that in the month of March, at the end of March, we are going to be starting eclipses. So we're coming into that month where we're a month out from eclipses getting ready to begin. Likely you're going to start feeling the effects of these eclipses coming in. The solar eclipse is going to be at the beginning of April. The lunar eclipse is going to be at the end of March. And they will be in Aries and Pisces. So I'm going to start working on some of those videos on the eclipses for you guys and try to get them out a little bit earlier than usual. But maybe also take a look at Aries and Libra in your chart, so that way you have an idea of where these new seeds are being planted with the solar eclipse in April, what's kind of getting completed with the lunar eclipse in Libra at the end of March. And if you have planets in those signs, just be extra aware that that is coming in. But let me know, what do you guys think? How are you feeling about how these transits are kind of shaping up? What's going on in your own chart? I love to hear from you guys. You guys have been really awesome in helping with communicating and leaving comments in the channel. Not many people know, but that really helps the channel's algorithm. So if you guys give me a thumbs up or you leave me a comment and let me know where you're tuning in from or what you think, I really appreciate it, because it allows the channel to grow. Just recently we hit 30,000 subscribers, which is really awesome. You know, short of 2 years ago, I did not anticipate being here or even being back on YouTube. But I keep coming back and doing this because of support from you guys. So I just want to say a big thank you for joining my membership, sharing my videos, commenting, being on the lives. It's really, really, really helpful in me being a full-time content creator. Yes, this is my full-time job. This is what I do. I do have a private practice where I see clients a few days a week, and I teach tarot and astrology, but this is really a full-time gig. So big thank you for all of you guys and your support. I look forward to seeing some of these major futuristic transits in February. Hopefully we'll come up with some fun new content for you guys as well. And I will catch you guys back here throughout this next week. Otherwise, enjoy the month of February, and I'll see you all very soon. Take care.